have, as you arcaders call her, Mommy Spoonstar back. That's one reason why I'm feeling excited. Number two, we have a very beautiful panel. In fact, I feel like the ugliest one here. Look at how amazing the panelists are. And last but not least, we are going to be diving into the numbers, specifically into the gaming investment numbers. Now, I know a lot of you may be wondering, I'm not an investor, or how do the numbers concern me? More so, was I good at math to talk about numbers or to listen into numbers? That's not the case at all. Our topic is going to be very relevant and hopefully should, right at the end, point to us the direction forward. Now, let's crack the ice. In bigger tradition, you guys know it, we usually have a breaker question just to test the mic, just to get us in the mood. And the question for us, for the panelists, is if you had $10 million to invest in gaming right now, what would you invest in? Let's kick it off with Spoonstar. Spoonstar, welcome back to the Bigger Love Train.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I don't know if anyone else was at HCC, but I am tired. That was a crazy week, but we're very happy that we got to hide some treasure around the south of France. But not to delay on your question, Biga, that's what I would invest in. I would invest in real world gamification. And how is it that we can use gamification to allow people to work better together and to build a better planet? And in building the rails as well that are connecting, the Web 2 gaming industry, the Grand Theft Autos of the world, and allowing people to actually collect real world rewards within that digital experience. So on the bridges, the people that are building, to summarize the connection between the physical and the digital and the physical. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with SpawnStar, but not to just toot our whistle, but we work on the connection between the physical world and the digital by allowing people to grab real world prizes and experiences in crypto by attending their favorite events and interacting with their favorite brands. I see Pipe is in the house, and we're very happy to now be working with L1X. We just launched on their Quantum Dex, and it's been amazing to have stability in a currency and an ecosystem that has real world utility. And that's what we hope to see more of, especially in the gaming ecosystem. If you're looking to invest in a gaming protocol, I would look at how it is that that game is maintaining stability and making sure that the value of the currency is associated with the growth of its community and not in the KOLs that they hired for the launch. So let's build different and let's build value, and then it'll be very easy for us to bring Web 2 learnings into this brand new brave world that we have been building. So thank you for having me, and it's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. I love what you've mentioned because we were having a discussion on it in our Discord, but our thoughts were completely dismantled. We were talking about RWA in gaming, but how you put it is exactly how we needed it put. So we're gonna advance that discussion. You are putting your dollars into where the money is. I guess that's why you're called Mommy Spoonstar. You know the trends. I love that. Lito, let's come over to you, my very, very good friend. What are you investing in? I'm giving you a $10 million check.
If you give me a $10 million check, I'm going to be biased and put that into something that not only am I very interested in right now, but also apparently a lot of people in the gaming market, which is portable handheld gaming devices such as the Legion Go, such as the Switch 2, such as all the I have the numbers right here, but I don't know if we can go into that. This will be a quick intro. But the growth in these handheld gaming devices has increased year after year, and there's almost like a this is the wrong word for it, but like an arms race to see which gaming companies. Let's say, like for example, the Xbox. They're coming out with their own handheld device soon, and which they don't. I don't believe they have one that's natively made by Xbox. So this is something that definitely needs to be. I would definitely want to invest in.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. That is so hot. And Nintendo have been blasting their numbers because they are just surpassing everybody's expectation. People say consoles are dead. I say in the short term, consoles have a lot of life and handheld devices are the way forward. I like that you brought that in. I really, oh, good one, good one. Okay, okay. Soulbound, what about you, my friend? I know you're all about streaming. Is that where you're putting your money at, buddy?
I definitely love streaming. So am I? Do I give my personal answer or am I giving Soulbound's answer? Because I could definitely take this two ways.
Why don't you give us both? Then we can maybe make the comparison of how they differ and what the comparisons are.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with Soulbound. Definitely would invest in this in the future of streaming. I mean, I'm also like speaking from on my behalf. I think I've come to the realization, just dabbling more with streaming, how much more bullish I am in it. I think in a world where I think everybody's got a TikTok brain and we're all focused on short-term content and completely addicted to it, I've realized that streaming extremely stands out because it's the one format that really captures people's attention outside of short form content. And there's a level of connectivity and interaction that you'll never get from any other form of content just because it's live. So yeah, I would definitely continue to invest within that infrastructure. I think Soulbound's vision is to obviously go to head with some of the biggest streaming platforms in the world, and I think they're already doing it in an interesting way where we're decentralizing it. You actually get to own the infrastructure with our powered with deep powered nodes. The creators actually earn 100% of the tips that they get, all these different things. And yeah, I would invest in that. For myself, I'll take a different angle. Um, yeah, I would just speaking as just a gamer, I would really focus on, I think either I would build the game myself or I would look at other people that are, I think, doing it the right way. And to be quite frank, it's interesting. I think I came into this industry, um, and don't get me wrong, I'm extremely optimistic in the future of Web3 gaming and all this stuff. But I would probably not invest in a Web3 game. I'm being quite frank. I would probably, if I had $10 million, I would look at anybody. I would look at a lot of indie studios that are actually fucking crushing it and passionately building something interesting. These small teams that I think actually get it, and then if they just so happen to be interested in the Web3 mechanics that I think we all love, I would even probably try to encourage them. But yeah, I think on the forefront, I would just look at anybody that's building something unique. Probably not a first-person shooter because everyone's mom and their neighbor is building that right now. I'd look for games that aren't being built right now, and I think there's a huge gap in the industry. People are craving for, I'm personally a big MMORPG guy, and I don't think there's been one in the last 2 decades that has really taken to storm the way a lot of games have before. So $10 million probably wouldn't be enough to build a good MMO. It might be a good, probably the demo. But yeah, that's what I think. I would focus on games that I think are doing something really interesting. Indie studios, probably not Web3. Web3 could always come later. Build a game first, build a community. Web3 could always come later. Yeah, that's what I think I would focus on.
Ooh, buddy, you got me sweating, man. The hot takes. We're just breaking the ice. We're just arcaders. We're just breaking the ice. And this guy is already firing with a machine gun. That is a machine gun. Those are heavy, heavy shots. I like that. and you always, because we're always in different spaces together talking about MMORPGs. So I think you will actually be the right person to invest in that, unlike investors who exist in this current climate that are not even gamers, right? So I'll support you with the 10 million that I have. Let's make that 20 million and let's go all in because you are right. It's being viewed as risky to invest in MMORPGs and none of them are cooking up like they used to. I like the hot takes. Your money is not coming to Web3. We have to circle back to that. I have to pour salt on the wound on that. I'm not lying to you, buddy. That is a hot take that we will not ignore. King Snooch, please, the mic is yours.
Yeah, before I do my answer, I just gotta ask Marcello. I don't know what kind of moms you have up there in Canada, but if you've got a bunch of moms that are building FPS, maybe I need to move to
Yeah, come on over, bro.
Canada. I love you, brother. So I got a little bit of a different approach here. I know everybody looks at investments a different way. Like they look at, all right, what is a project that I think is going to make money? I don't look at investments as what project do I want to invest in. I look at who do I want to invest in. I'd rather invest in a person than a project. And I might be a little biased here, but I definitely think I would inject some pretty good funding into Game Talk magazine. I think what Verve, Marcello, and myself are building there, with a little bit of funding, would be astronomical. I think that definitely would take off. I think all it requires is funding, and you have, like I said, good people there who are building something solid. Likewise, I would probably, if it was 10 million, I would probably acquire Xcos, to be honest with you. I'd buy it all out, and I'd own the company because spaces like this right here happen because of Xcos. And I think what they're building is absolutely phenomenal. And I think it's just beginning. Like it's one of those projects that I see the vision and I see the possibilities of where it could go. I'm not looking at it as, oh, how much money can it make me? I look at it more as investing in a person and what their passion is. And I think X co-host has a big potential for that. And again, like I said, I believe in investing more in the person behind the project than the name and what the profits could be. Those would be two. I'd probably save maybe like 4 million for like small investments. The rest of that would kind of get split between acquiring Expos and funding Game Talk magazine to just be as big as Game Informer. I think that's where I would go with it.
Oh man, King Snooch. King Snooch. It's not about what, it's about who. And it's about investing in platforms that, I mean, ex-co-host to me helps us build relationships. And there's a lot of power in that. That is really good. That is I think that was
I don't
a
know
really
who this
good bacon
Kuro guy
question.
is with the thumbs down there, but brother, look into it.
They're just wondering why you didn't give them a little bit of that money. But yeah, it's about the connections. I'm bullish on the people, especially if you're dealing with an early stage project where
That's
they have
that's why
nothing.
I said keep 4 million
Mm.
for small projects for future relationships, because you never know who I could come across that I just find, damn, they're building something really solid. They have the passion behind it. That's why I would save 4 million for future endeavors where I meet people that just really trigger that feeling of, oh my god, I want to invest in this person. Like if Lido came to me right now, if Lido came to me with a project that he was building, I'd probably throw him $1 million out of that right away, just because I know Lido and I know who he is and the person behind him. Like I stand behind the dude. He's solid. Absolutely freaking love the dude. That's what I'm saying. Like I would reserve 4 million for projects that people that I have built relationships with. If they were building a project, I would want to have something that I can invest in.
That deserves a round of applause. I don't know, Arcaders, if you're hearing what I'm hearing, but that deserves a round of applause. When you hear that it's all about people, especially in Web3 and very niche industries, our man knows that, and he's putting his money where his mouth is. Okay, what about you, Pipe G Dow? Where are you allocating a 10 million fund that you are chief investment officer of towards in gaming? Doesn't have to be gaming, but
Can I
give us.
just add one thing before Pipe goes? If anybody wants to talk about Ethereum in any shape, way, or form, since in my belief it is going to be the infrastructure that's going to power a lot of gaming through its L2s and everything, do we want to have that conversation now? Should we jump on the Ethereum train as well with those $10 million?
I like that you said that right before Pipe G Dow jumps right on, because I'm sure, I mean, he's involved in the infrastructure part of this whole space. I'm sure he has something to say on that. Pipe G Dow, what's your take here?
Hey guys, hey Sponstar. Nice to see you again. We need to book another call. But anyway, so this is Batsy. I'm the founder of Pipe Cheat House. Batsy Right Gusto Wallace. I'm the founder, the boss, the Don, the Jefe, captain, and commander of the project. Better recognize and show some respect on my name. To answer your question, yes, ETH. I think ETH is more of a finance infrastructure play rather than gaming. Maybe if there is a layer two which leverages ETH, like Base, for example, which is focused on gaming, then yeah, because I think layer twos are the future of ETH. They are the reason why retail and other users would, in my view, would continue to use ETH, even though it's on layer two or kind of pegged ETH or whatever. And then you have institutions using DeFi protocols on the base layer and so on. So I think ETH for gaming might have potential if someone builds a layer two. However, I would buy infrastructure that can support gaming app chains. I think app chains, application-specific chains. I think that is where it's going to be, because I mean, I think it's at some point each DApp will evolve to have its own chain, so it can have its own NEV, that's maximum extractable value, and so on. So I like AVAX for that because they do have gaming subnets on there. So Guns is built on Avalanche, and because it lets you have your own, layer one chain which you can customize, which is really good for enterprise use cases. And obviously gaming, even though it's retail, there's a lot of enterprise stuff in there, KYC and so on. So being able to have that level of configuration, that's why you launch a subnet or supernet or so on, right? So I like AVAX. I like AVAX for that as an infrastructure, and then as a derivative of that, or as a side or supporting project, I would go for Guns chain as well. I also think Layer 1x, yes, I'm being biased, full disclosure, I am the chief officer at Layer 1x, but I'm also speaking as a technologist. Layer 1x also supports subnets like Avalanche, and they also support private, public, permissioned, or permissionless, and those are the key considerations when it comes to blockchain architecture, particularly for enterprise solutions, which is what typically gaming chains need to be, because they need to be compliant with regulations. So Layer 1x offers what Avalanche offers, but the difference is that it's interoperable, right? So you can have one Layer 1x subnet and it's interoperable across multiple chains, including AVAX. Right, so that's how I would approach it. Because with infrastructure you can't really go wrong because it's always required in the bull or bear market, right? And app chains like guns, like I mentioned, or you know the more base infrastructure which can be used to do gaming, not just gaming by the use cases, but gaming can be done as well. Um, I would go. I would put 5 million in AVAX and 5 million in L1X.
I like that. I like that. And I can hear that you have your bags in AVAX. You're very bullish on AVAX, and so am I, to be honest. And you are right that for gaming, the transaction costs, right? But there are other chains which have actually built for this lovely industry that we have. I like that. You just split it down the middle, 5 million here, 5 million there. I
Can,
really
can I
like
just
it. Yes.
can I just add something? So when I say AVAX, I'm not saying the C chain, which is their their smart contract platform, which is permissionless like ETH and Sol, which anyone can just build on. I'm talking about the fact that you can spin up your own subnet using AVAX. So you need to hold a certain amount of AVAX. Can't remember what it is, 100,000 or whatever it is, right? For you to even create your own chain, which you can then customize for gaming, which is what Guns have done, right? So, and if people keep creating infrastructure using AVAX and L1X to create gaming specific chains, and then I do see some long-term value. So I'm not talking about the C chain, I'm talking about the AVAX subnets.
Right. And in the Discord, I see a user has asked, what are subnets? And in response to you, follow PipeG DAO. All right? Follow PipeG DAO. I really like that answer. You are going to go for the infrastructure play, which is a pretty safe bet. It's a really, really good play. Cautious, but can also yield really high returns. All right. Fantico, Mazi, let's get to you guys real quick with the breaker question that has consumed 25 minutes. Oh, God. So let's get your takes, then let's dive into this report. Fantico, Mazi, let's get to it. Fantico, please lead us.
Yo, guys, there's not much left to say after what you guys said. I'm pretty much agreeing with you guys. To be honest, I like the way PUBG talked about his investment. I would agree in there. I would put, I would split, let's say, 8 mil out of those 10 and putting 4 into AVAX because we talking both from a Fantico perspective and a personal perspective. I'm bullish on AVAX for gaming and not just for gaming, but in general. I feel like they're building like never before. Like I don't know, last bull market was nothing with what they're trying to do now. But at the same time, I'm watching the way Arbitrum is trying to grow the gaming structure on their chain. They're trying to migrate from just being DeFi and bringing GameFi into their blockchain. So putting it safe, I would just go for infrastructure as well. AVAX and Arbitrum and save 2 mil for small bets and I don't know, things that come across every day. And you might make 100x from those. I don't know.
Save that 2 mil for flying to conferences. That's what we love to do in Web3. That's where we love
Well,
to allocate our dollars. Okay.
100%.
Yeah. AVAX is getting another shout out. I think I need to pay that ecosystem a lot more attention here. I appreciate that answer. Okay, okay. That is, yeah, a gaming play right there. Infrastructure and gaming directly. Mazi, let's have your take right here. Then we'll dive into a brilliant report which talks about gaming numbers, which I'd love to just pick your brains on concerning this report. Mazi, the floor is yours.
All right, GM everyone. So the question is, if I have $10 million, what games will I be investing in? So here, this is my personal opinion. Everybody wondered how, the biggest gaming companies are moving towards gaming as a service. Last year, Microsoft Xbox announced that when they went ahead buying up studios, and PlayStation already has announced theirs this year as well. That should give you a picture of what we should be expecting in the next 5 years to come. Probably after we have the likes of PlayStation 6 or whatever uh, name they're going to give the next generation console. So if I have $10 million, I'm going to be not only investing in games, especially Web3 um, gaming. One, I'm also going to be investing in platforms that are looking towards offering gaming as a service, right? Because I feel that is the next big thing moving forward, probably from 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Now, if most people don't understand what Xbox did or Microsoft did with their latest handheld device, they not only made it an Xbox handheld console, they also made it my Windows service, which offers Steam. So you can use the handheld to play pretty much every other game from any platform, Steam, Epic Games, right? So it's not just about right now Xbox, but building a device or a service that can run on other platforms. That is the future that we are heading to. And, that is somehow what blockchain is trying to, bring decentralization. So even the traditional gaming companies, even the big dogs in this industry are already thinking ahead. And you as me, if I have $10 million, I'm going to be thinking where the big boys are, probably trying to play the ground, right? Microsoft is already in partnership with Samsung to offer the Xbox service on Samsung TVs in the near future. PlayStation is already thinking towards that as well. They are Sony, right? So definitely in the near future, Sony TVs are also going to offer that as a service. So not only just in games, because obviously Web3 games are not going to be left out in my portfolio. Mobile games are also a big, for me, if I should, um, with my $10 million portfolio, mobile games platforms that are going to be offering gaming as a service, these are my picks. So yeah.
I like that. I like that because you are looking at what the big boys are doing, and the big boys essentially create the waves. They're the ones who deploy capital that creates the trends. So I really like that. I like that you have spoken about mobile. So let's get into the report. We're going to talk about just key points that I picked out from this report by Arim and Co. We're going to talk about mobile, which my good friend had already started mentioning. You also mentioned UGC or games as a service, which we're also going to talk about. We'll talk about the markets themselves, and then we'll look at the PC and console market. But let's start with mobile. Mobile in-app revenue has just been at around 2 billion per quarter. It's stagnant. And downloads are also declining. Does this mean that we've reached a saturation in mobile? What do you guys think concerning this? And let's kick it off because I see no hands up with Spoonstar. Spoonstar, are you seeing that in the mobile ecosystem we've reached saturation? Oh, Pipe Chida,
Not
I see your
even.
hand up.
No, not
Yeah.
even. I think Pipe had his hand up. So I'll be quick. Not even close, right? I feel like there's so much more to happen in digital models that come from mobile that are deeply not incorporated with DPIN and with or walk to earn, game to earn, watch to earn. These are all models that we haven't even. It's not even the tip of the iceberg. So absolutely not. That's my point of view. I think there's a lot more growth still in mobile, but not in the traditional way that we think of gaming, but in this hybrid gaming model that's going to connect the physical and digital.
Okay, there's still more growth in gaming. Let's hold that thought. Pipe Jidal, please jump in. Fantico, I also have your hand on queue. Pipe Jidal, what do you think? Do you agree with this statement that there's still more growth to come? Or do you think, yeah, it's saturated right now? Get out when you can. What's your take?
No, I think as long as people still have mobile devices like tablets and phones, it's not going to get saturated. It's like saying, our PC gaming, because is that saturated? For example, no, right? As long as people are using the technology, I think there's always scope for growth. And I do agree with Sponstar in terms of it's not just about playing Snake or playing the free games and whatever on your phone. I think people are looking for more immersive experiences. I think things like augmented reality. I think there is still a lot of scope for disruption there. Years ago, I think over a decade ago, we had Pokemon Go and stuff.
Yeah,
and
not to cut you off, but we're actually one of our newest investors does the impact tracking for Pokemon Go. So we were actually looking at some numbers there, and it's kind of like outlandish. Pokemon Go had 900 million downloads with no actual reward system. So when we think of experiences like ours, and we think of like the addressable market of new people that we're bringing into this hybrid gaming model, it's like it's 2 to 3 billion downloads of users. So I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's interesting stats and interesting information about your investor. So that was disruptive, but you have to have a disruptive game first, which outside of any kind of reward structure that gets lots of downloads, and then you introduce a crypto element or whatever, but don't financialize it straight away, or don't say straight off the bat that this is a financialized game, because you're then you're removing the whole point of a game, right? So yeah, definitely augmented reality experiences. I also think in terms of the interface, because when you think about mobile is now the operating system. It's no longer about having a phone, right? Phones are computers, they're computing resources. You can power a satellite with a phone, right? There's micro satellites, for example, using a operating system, right? They're that powerful, right? So we're just talking about operating system, and it's a platform by which a competing operating system software can run, which is capable of being a computer, right? So what other mobile platforms, more than just phones, can such operating systems go on? I think Ray-Ban have got some cool stuff going on with their glasses. Ray-Ban and Meta, they seem to have a collaboration. I saw an advert. Meta do this, Meta do that. You could easily add a gaming layer, an AR gaming layer to that. So so that's like a kind of heads up display type of experience. So you don't have to be holding your phone to looking at your phone. You can still be walking down the street and having AR experiences whilst not having, because holding your phone and looking at the screen is a bit of an impediment, type thing as well. So I think a heads-up display type of mobile experiences could be interesting as well. And to take it a step further to get all kind of sci-fi, I do also think kind of virtual holographic interfaces that you carry around. Your kind of your watch, Apple Watch could spin up a virtual game or virtual AR gaming experience with kind of some holographic technology and so on and so forth. I think, and that would be on a mobile device, for example, right? So mobile, I think, is a very broad topic, and I think there are many layers to it more than just iPhones.
I really like that. And let me quote: mobile is not just a device, it's an operating system. And you have actually taken it a notch higher to what Spoonster was saying. Speaking about Pokemon Go, we're gonna get to it in merger and acquisition segment of this script if we even get there. Let's just take our time with the topics, okay? Because I'm enjoying the discussions. Let's go in depth. That was one of the biggest deals of 2025 so far, where Scopely bought out Niantic's game portfolio. Pokemon Go was definitely it, and that's because they are quote unquote integrating mobile to this non-traditional aspect, and that's very interesting. Okay, let me just throw out another question here, because A, the revenue has stabilized. B, the downloads are declining. So how are companies such as Supercell, Century Games, so on and so forth, managing to grow their in-app purchases despite a declining new user acquisition climate? Let me pick your brains on that. Fantico, I know you had your hand raised. Mazi, I know you had your hand raised as well. But what's going on? Downloads are declining, but these guys are still making money. How are they doing it? What tips and tricks can we learn for ourselves for our mobile platforms?
I mean, I agree with the guys that spoke before about both 5G and Spoonstar. I totally agree with their catch on this. Uh, on the fact that they're still making money, well, bro, they're making money from so many years now that, and so huge numbers that at this point, even if the downloads are down, they're still, I mean, a lot on profit and building like hell. Uh, they have liquidity. They have what it means to build more and more. Um, I I don't think that's an issue right now. If we see like a chill in the downloads, I don't think that's an issue. Mobile, it's here to stay. To be honest, I think it's until we will have like microchips in our heads to call each other. I don't think mobile gaming will be in danger. Um, Even if consoles are around and PCs are around and everything, mobile gaming is the most accessible and it will remain like that. And I think that the guys that are handling this, they know that as well. So that's why they're not um, they're not stepping back from developing even more. They're putting more on the line, even if the profits are maybe down for a little while, because they know this is the shit. That's my catch on this.
Yeah, I agree. These companies definitely have established their IPs, and at this point they're running in year 10, year 15, so on and so forth. And I agree that that is really playing to their advantage. I mean, just to speak of the numbers, I'm sure you guys have all come across Whiteout Survival. Those guys made 127 million last month. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of money in a climate where downloads are not increasing. And it shocked me and it made me wonder, how are this what? Mazi, let's have your take here concerning just revenue somewhat being stable whilst user acquisition is basically declining. That's what the numbers say.
All right. So my take on this is just as you said, the downloads on the mobile sides are declining. That is one thing, but the revenue is stable, which is good. Downloads are declining probably because one, there are no new games to download, right? But the revenue is stable. It's like in a particular range and not declining. Where there is going to be a problem at the end of the day is if the downloads are declining and the revenue is also declining as well, then definitely we'll probably say the mobile game is in shambles, or probably we are the peak. So there's different factors that have to be put in place when you're talking about, mobile, just like the console as well. You need to talk about the devices, right? Currently, right now, we don't have, apart from the X25 Ultra Samsung with a few new phones from Xiaomi, and the you know iPhone 16 was last year, so we've not had any updates from Apple with what they are going to be releasing this year. So what I feel we have right now is just, you know, probably everybody with um, no new games, or probably what we have is just no new people going in there. But there is retention in the mobile game industry. There is retention, meaning players are still playing the games and paying for one thing or the other, buying things from the stores and stuff like that. So for me, just like every market or every chart out there, I feel probably the mobile industry, the mobile game sector is actually on the edge of probably a breakout. Right. Why I say this is because, one, um, with the introduction of these new um, chips that are going to not only be used on the mobile devices, but some new handheld devices as well. That is a Snapdragon Elite 2, which we've seen even some, you know, gaming laptops are using it, right? So we're going to get to a point where you're going to see, more introduction towards the display resolutions of these mobile games, and I think that is going to introduce us to a new concept that people probably buying these new devices are going to be equipped with these new chips, to like enhance their gaming experience. But for now, I feel it's a good thing. The studios are still making money on the mobile aspect, which I feel it's good. There is no decline. We are not at the peak yet. I know that for sure. Mobile isn't going anywhere, and it's not a time for, saying we're at the peak. No, we are not there yet, and probably maybe we're waiting for the next big thing, right? Game studios being sold, being acquired by another game studio or one company hasn't declined, hasn't changed, the perspective of players, which is a great thing. So I think at the end of the day, we are good. We are in great hands. So that is my take from that of the reports, and that also of declines in downloads of the mobile games as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly that essentially, if you're keeping revenue stable whilst you're essentially not getting new people in, you're monetizing better. And I agree with everything you've said. Although I would state that maybe it's not that there are not any new games. It's that discovery on the mobile platform is it's getting a little bit tricky, and small studios building on mobile have to be very creative in how they target their audiences. But essentially, these platforms, that being Apple especially, marketed their latest iPhone as a gaming device. They've never done that in their history. They've also somewhat acquired a game studio, right? That's also something they've never done in their history. So they're gonna be more focused on mobile, and that should hopefully add a little bit of flair to what's happening in the mobile ecosystem. Okay, Lito, the floor is
Okay.
yours.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely they're getting, if the revenue is staying the same, but the downloads are decreasing, they're definitely getting better at monetizing or like targeting their target audience. So, for example, with gotcha games, you can download the game for free, but you're going to have to pay. So, who are you going to target? You're going to target gambling addicts. You're going to target people like who are of between a certain age range, because you know hey, they might want the extra loot crate, they want that extra chance at getting this skin or whatever. So another example of good targeting is like aiming for children, like games like Roblox, where you're gonna have to pay for your children's Robux, or games like Yu-Gi-Oh. Dude, I remember when I was a kid, I was like 11, fiending from some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. My dad would take me to the store, and I could almost see a little because he knew that I would ask him for that $20 card pack of Yu-Gi-Oh. So you just really need to know your target demographic and then like focus on them. And we haven't mentioned this yet, but I think since we're talking about 2025 gaming investments, let's talk about a really bad investment, which I believe is esports. I've seen so many people lose money on that, but hey, that's for another. That may be a topic for a different space.
I love it. I love that you brought that up. They always point fingers at Web3 games, but they never do that on esports, because all these esport companies have had their stocks plummet by 70% plus. I don't know if we're going to get to that in this space, but it's definitely in the notes. I want to talk about that when we come to talking about PCs. I have to agree with you. These studios are monetizing way better. They're targeting their audience in a very, very scary way. Like their ads are just even misleading people, right? I think that's what's made Whiteout Survival really do well, because they have this really good animations to their 4X game. The moment you download the game, it's a whole different game from what you saw in the ad, right? And I can't imagine what it would be with web shops being introduced now, essentially the studios being able to get your data, which Apple protected us from with ATT, them having us and targeting us directly with all this data they're going to get from web shops. Yeah, it's going to be tough, especially on the kids who just swipe, buy. They don't even know what they buy. But that is correct. They are really turning on the machines on monetizing. But Jidal, let's have your take on this. I'm happy just exploring this topic deeper. In as much as there's a script to somewhat get through, we'll have a part two. Let's have your take on this because it's very interesting.
Yes, I just wanted to agree with the previous speakers, particularly the speaker before the last one, about retention. And that's from a sales and marketing perspective, that's bottom of the funnel stuff, right? As a middle, mm, and just for those that don't understand what I mean, top of the funnel, that's where someone first becomes aware of you. Middle of the funnel, they're like in their store and they're looking around and they haven't bought yet. Bottom of the funnel is the point where you actually acquire the customer or acquire the user, right? So what most businesses in general focus on doing is like top of the funnel stuff, and once they acquire you, they don't give a fuck about retaining you as much. They're more focused on acquisition rather than retention. But if you focus in the bottom of the funnel, which is retention, right? That means that it actually lowers your customer acquisition cost at the top of the funnel, right? So what I think is happening is that they're more they're more able to retain their existing users, and those users they're maybe able to upsell, cross sell more things to the existing user base, and they are also able to, and that also means that they get word of mouth referrals. So you might not see a big spike in users, but they are acquiring users without having to pay for marketing as much because they're taking care of the existing user base. I would imagine because again they're innovating, they have new revenue models which they can just use to reinvest back in the user base, and then like-minded people refer like-minded people, and word of mouth referrals, which is the best of all, that you don't pay for, it's free, right? Those are more likely to happen if you're smarter about how you monetize and smarter about how you retain your existing customers and retain your user base, right? So I suspect that's what's going on.
Yeah, and it's somewhat become a thing for D30 numbers to just be trash. Like everybody's very happy with only 0. I don't know what percent being retained from a very expensive campaign day 30, right? They only care about day 1 and day 7, and they're not really thinking about retention. And I think maybe that's what we are really good at in Web3, that community aspect of building systems, having live operations in your Discord is something we are looking at way more than they are, because they just care about how many guys are coming in, what is the install per mile, what is the click-through rate, so on and so forth. I like that. Guys, we only have 5 minutes left. I don't feel like scratching any other topic with 5 minutes left, because that could potentially just turn 5 minutes into 30. So let me ask another mobile related question. What are, and we somewhat spoke about this in our last space concerning can China be stopped? But what are some investment strategies that are emerging for mobile in comparison to user targeting, right? Are we seeing that it's healthy for studios to only be targeting Western markets because that's where they can potentially monetize better? Or does it make sense to also be involved in studios that target these regions of the world, such as Africa, that, yeah, they don't monetize too well? Marcelo, you've been a little bit quiet. Let me put you on the spot there, brother, just so that for the other segment we can have a part 2 of the space. Let's just keep it on mobile now before hell breaks loose. Marcelo.
Yeah, for sure. I think that depending on who you're trying to target, it definitely has an impact. If you're just focused on generating revenue, yeah, I don't know if you're going to generate as much in some of these regions. Does that mean you shouldn't explore them? I don't think, I think you should. I think a lot of these places are the future. I'm extremely bullish on Africa, South America, lots of parts of Asia that I think are still developing. And that's where I think a lot of the attention is going to be in